In the last lesson, we covered a lot about the Pages panel. In this lesson, we'll be discussing tips, tricks, and more advanced features in the Pages panel. If you'd like to follow along, go under the File menu to Open, and in the Working Files folder, go to Chapter 3 and select Pages Beyond the Basics, A, B, and C, and just click Open. This first file is actually a postcard. The front of the postcard is vertical, but because of postage regulations here in the United States, the indicia side of a postcard needs to be horizontal in order to be mailed. So let me go to my Pages panel. Now, if I go to page 2 by double-clicking on page 2, you can see this is going to be a problem working on, because the type is sideways, as is the whole layout, because I had to design a horizontal layout in a vertical space, so I had to turn it sideways. Well, does this mean that I have to turn my head to the side to read what's going on and get a stiff neck? No, because there's a terrific feature under the Options menu to help you out. I have page 2 selected, and I'm going to go under my Options menu to Page Attributes and choose Rotate Spread View 90 degrees clockwise. Now, let me just double click on page 2 again to get it to fit in my window, and this is going to be a lot easier to work on, and I'm not going to get a stiff neck. And when I'm done and I'm ready to send it to the printer, I could always turn it back by going under the Options menu again to Page Attributes, Rotate Spread View, Clear Rotation. Why don't we go to the next file, which is Pages Beyond the Basics, B. And this is a slideshow. Indesign is a terrific application for designing a slide presentation. Why? One, it's a layout program, so you can do the kinds of things you would expect to be able to do in a layout, but also you can export the file to an Acrobat, which means you can run it on any computer that has Acrobat or Acrobat Reader without problems. Unlike other slide presentation software where the fonts may be missing on a particular computer. Not a good thing. Well, why don't we start by talking about slide transitions. I'm going to go under the Options menu, go to Page Attributes, Page Transitions, choose. And it's going to open a dialog window, which if I hover above any one of these choices, it's going to give me a little quick preview. I'm going to choose something called Fade, which is kind of like a cross dissolve in a movie. So it literally dissolves from one slide to another. And I'm going to apply this transition to all spreads. I could also select individual pages and just apply different transitions for different slides. I'm just going to click OK, and you can see that it actually added a little transitions icon next to each one of the slides. And so it's going to make a really nice slideshow with those transitions. Another thing I could do is apply color labels to various pages of different types. Like, for instance, my first page, let me double click on that. It doesn't have a master page applied to it. It says none when I hover over it. Well, maybe I want to select just that one page because it's going to be different. And I'm going to go under my Options menu to Page Attributes, Color Labels, and I'm going to choose, how about red? And you can see it put a red label under page 1 in the thumbnails. Now, I can also apply labels to master pages. If I apply a label to a master page, any local page in my slide presentation that has that master applied to it will pick up the label as well. Let me double click on a master. Go under my Options menu to Page Attributes, color label, and this time I'm going to choose the bright blue, and you can see every single local page has that bright blue applied, except for page 1, which doesn't have a master applied. So it helps you to organize your various pages to quickly see which masters were applied. Why don't we go to Pages Beyond the Basics C? There's an option that's checked by default under the Options menu. Let me show you. I'm going to click on the Options menu and go down to Allow Document Pages to Shuffle. What is that about, and why is it allowed by default? Well, if you were to add a page, I'm just going to leave this checked and show you what it's about. Right now I have a master page that's been applied to everything with one page that's white, the left-hand page, and a right-hand page that's red. And I also have local content. You can see right on my page 2, there's a text frame that says local content on a page. Let me double click on page 2 just to make sure I'm really on that page. And yes, I am. And I'm going to go to my A master and click on just the left-hand page. And I'm going to drag it down before page 2 and watch what happens. It took the local content and shuffled it forward onto page 3. What shuffling is allowing to happen is if you add a page and you're allowing shuffling, it's going to force the document to remain in spreads and shuffle all of the local content forward by a single page. Well, with most documents, this is not going to matter. But if you have a master page, such as a master in this document, where the two sides of your spread are entirely different, it may make a big difference to you. So it's just something to be aware of. If I turn Allow Document Pages to Shuffle off, it's a little different in that it's no longer forcing the document to remain in spreads. Watch what happens now. I'm going to click on A Master and drag it down next to pages 2 and 3. And you can see it made it into a 3-page spread. Well, it's a great way to make 3-page spreads, but it may be a problem if you weren't planning on that. So that's the reason that Allow Document Pages to Shuffle has been selected. And if I wanted to maintain my current number of pages, I would click Yes, and it still has the 3rd page in that spread. But it's numbering it in a very interesting way with brackets on either side of the number. And page 5 is by itself. So you have to be very careful with Allow Document Pages to Shuffle. Let me undo that and undo it again. And now we're back to normal. Another thing that you can control under the Options menu are the panel options themselves. Let me go under my Options menu to Panel Options. And this allows me to change the panel to best meet my needs for the way I like to work. Right now I have a page size of medium for my thumbnails. I could make them larger if I wanted. Masters, right now they're small. Maybe I want them extra small. So you can see you can set this up exactly the way you want. Which kind of icons do you want to show in the panel? Transparency icon, spread rotation, page transitions, and also how do you want to lay out the panel? Do you want your pages on the top instead of the masters being on the top? So you have a lot of control about the way this panel is set up. I'm just going to hit cancel. Another thing that is really terrific about the Pages panel is it allows you to navigate around a document. So if I double click on page 4, it goes right to page 4. If I double click on page 7, it goes right to page 7. Why don't I get my Pages panel out of the way and just scroll up? Because another thing that's very important about the Pages panel, it's a good way to see that you really are on a particular page. If you double click on a page, that's the page you're on. So if I go to my ruler and just click and drag, because I scrolled, there is no guide because I'm trying to drag a guide onto a page that I'm not really on. Of course, if I click on the page, now I'm really on that page. And watch what happens if I click and drag. I'm getting a guide. But if you use the Pages panel to navigate, you don't have to worry about which page you're on. You know which page you're on. So if I double click on page 6, I know that I'm on 6, and I can drag a guide onto that page. There's also a pop-up menu down the bottom of the panel that allows you to change the size of a selected page to some other standard media size. So that's a nice thing. We'll be discussing more about the Pages panel and Master Pages, one of the most powerful layout features, in the next lesson.